All the sacrifices, all this expenditure have not been wasted, in my view. Yes, it was difficult. Yes, it was torturous. We've shed a lot of tears, a lot of blood, a lot of pain. But I think now we are entering a new phase. I think the biggest mistake made by the United States and the coalition, and we've argued with them at the time, was to change the mission from liberation to occupation. Security Council Resolution 1483 was the mother of all sins.
Can you explain that some more?
Because that noble mission, actually, to liberate these people from tyranny, from dictatorship, from these brutalities that we've seen afterward, all these mass graves, all this torture chamber, and the reality of this regime have been exposed, was changed by a Security Council resolution and by certain lawyers into a formal occupation. That you don't know how to run your country, we will run it for you. This has failed. They should have trusted the Iraqi leaders. The same leaders whom they wanted to isolate, now they are in power after 8 years. The so-called external, the so-called Islamists, the so-called this and that, because many of the plans were not realistic about the reality of Iraq.
So finally, we decided on a more active direct policy, which was to topple him and to set up a government that would restore peace at home, not threaten its neighbors, introduce a democratic system, and get the economy moving again without the burden of sanctions. And that's what Iraq has basically achieved with our help in the last 8 years. So I consider this a success.
And that just gets, I'll go to the grocery store, but I still have to go with, my headscarf and my...
The psychological effect of the various actors here, that's a different thing. There, various people may mistake the withdrawal of American forces with a withdrawal of American interest or commitment to this country. That's why Vice President Biden came out here. That's why the President has invited Prime Minister Maliki, and Prime Minister Maliki has accepted for a visit to Washington. That's why we are shifting and reinforcing some of our military presence in the region. That's why we're going to have a broad security relationship with the Iraqis to try to compensate for this psychological concern that some of our friends have here.
So long. And, you guys have a great place and it's a great setup.